I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud, and this is Commotion. Look, YouTube turned 20 this year, and what's extraordinary is it is at the top of its game. Bloomberg reported that more than 1 billion people are watching podcasts every month on YouTube, which puts it higher than Spotify in the US. YouTube Music is the fastest growing music platform right now. YouTube itself has more viewers on TV than Netflix, Disney Plus, or Amazon Prime Video, which I think means this is a good moment to just pause and reflect on this moment of YouTube dominance and how this website that, not that long ago, basically gave us a bunch of lifestyle vlogs and Justin Bieber, and now has become the biggest entertainment platform on the planet. Culture writer Kyle Chayka is here with us today. Kyle, what's up, pal? How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. Look, what goes through your mind when you hear that this news that 1 billion people are watching podcasts on YouTube every month?
Yeah, that whole idea of watching podcasts is really fascinating.
People are doing it right now, pal. They're watching us. They're watching you and me do this as a podcast
on YouTube. I hope it's adding something. I mean, it just goes to show how much everything has become video content.
Mm-hmm.
Like every form of digital media is trending toward the video clip, and YouTube is kind of the classic place to consume video. Like it's been on the internet for decades. We know exactly what it is. It's the place where you watch videos, and now we're just watching more videos online than ever.
Yeah, the idea of like, okay, I would like to listen to a podcast, but you know what I should do is just naturally orient your mind towards video. I feel like that feels like a new invention. Like that feels like a new sort of turn for all of us, or at least for every other place in media to say, we shall do that too. And I should note that like I am currently existing in a studio that was retooled. This is a radio studio that was retooled to become, in part a YouTube studio, which is to say resources go into this because we say, well, that's where people are. But why are people there, Kyle? Like, what do you think people get out of the idea of watching a podcast, watching a radio show? What gives?
It's a great question. I mean, for consumers, on the one hand, I think people do like to see who's talking, and they connect with a face and a voice and an individual person on a closer level. And they're also accustomed to that, like from the era of TikTok and, well-equipped smartphones, we're used to people talking on video at us all the time. But then I think the bigger force is just on the creator side. Videos are easier to monetize. Like it is easier to make money off of your video than it is off of an audio clip.
Okay, I want to come back to the idea of all of us doing video all the time in just a moment. But I think what you just touched on there is important to touch on because this idea of YouTube having all of this kind of content, whether it's like DIY videos or lifestyle bloggers, as a business, I feel like it's quite different than other platforms. What do you think it is that sets YouTube apart from other platforms?
Well, YouTube's business model is actually a little different from all of the other social networks. And it kind of like predates what we think of as most social media. So on YouTube, YouTube shares its ad revenue with everyone on the platform, or with the biggest creators on the platform. So YouTube will sell ads as a company on all of the videos on its platform. And then a percentage of that revenue will go toward the creators who generate the most attention.
Right.
So this is the company itself, like the corporation, kind of passing on the revenue that it's making to the people who are actually generating the content, which does not happen on Facebook. It doesn't happen on Instagram as much. It happened a little bit on TikTok, and then they totally stopped that program. So it's a very different, like, actual relationship between the creator and the platform here.
So, like, in practice, what you're talking about is, like, if you go viral on Instagram, that's very nice for you, and maybe you get a few followers out of that. Congratulations. But if you go viral on YouTube, it literally has a different financial kind of consequence. So when we see a creator kind of go viral, maybe on Instagram or on TikTok, and they seem to often, like, try to transition to YouTube. I'm thinking here of like the Kombucha girl, Brittany Broski. Can you talk about this kind of funnel system of like go viral somewhere else and then try to, parlay that into YouTube stardom?
Yeah, I think this is the link in bio ecosystem. So everything is a marketing funnel now, like every social network. And so at the top of the funnel, you have your TikTok or your Instagram or your X account or whatever, which is basically a billboard for you as a creator. You post stuff out there. it reaches a very wide audience thanks to these algorithmic feeds.
Mm-hmm.
But then you need to convert those audiences into better revenue for yourself. And that's not going to happen on TikTok or Instagram. You need to move them down the funnel towards something like YouTube, which will actually monetize that attention that you're getting.
But here's the thing, is like when I hear that, I hear the beginning of a virtuous cycle, right? And I guess what I hear is the reshaping of the culture we consume writ large, right? So it begins as you trying to say, okay, the way for me to make money is to be a single face on a screen talking to people. That begins to filter down everywhere else in terms of how we consume information. And then like the notion of authority begins to be conferred on that individual talking to you via screen. This is basic Marshall McLuhan stuff. The idea that like, when we say the medium is a message, what we really mean is the medium changes who we are and how we receive information. It changes who we perceive as an authority figure. So when you think about 20 years of YouTube dominance, how do you think that particular medium has transformed the way we receive information?
Yeah, I mean, it's created the whole archetype of digital video, I think. I mean, this, as you referenced before, the archetype of vlogging and broadcasting your life and the kind of video confessional in front of your laptop. I think that medium has become what we expect everything to be now. I mean, not to go too far, but the way that Elon Musk and Donald Trump are running the government right now, often in the US, often feels to me like a YouTube video or someone talking into a phone. So I think, and that medium pushes towards certain values over others, like that rewards drama, it rewards your personal performance. It doesn't necessarily award neutral authority. Like no one has quite replicated the calm, neutral news anchor vibe on YouTube. Instead, it's electric, it's inflammatory, it's like the kind of reality show starting drama and fights. Like YouTuber conflicts are another trope because they're always fighting each other for attention.
Yeah.
So I think, that it's really foregrounded the personal and the dramatic and the confessional and just the individual face and voice. And that's kind of the currency of authority right now.
When I think about that, I think about Philip DeFranco, who had one of the earliest news shows on YouTube. Philip DeFranco would come on, at 7 p.m. every day and say, these are the biggest news stories. But he was notably much more frantic than a normal news anchor would be because he's obviously trying to say, like, these are very torqued stakes to these stories. And then that sort of becomes like the way that news actually travels across social media. We know that people are watching content more. We've seen some reports that reading and literacy are kind of dipping. I've seen a couple of theorists push it to the extent of saying, because of YouTube, because of the way that YouTube has kind of rewired and rechanged culture just in the last, 15, 20 years or so, we are reverting to an orality culture where we're sort of displacing the book as a central technology for how to spread information. And video is becoming a bit more central to it. And it's not unlike moving back towards some kind of version of orality. Does that feel dramatic to you in terms of like the way that YouTube has remade society in 20 years? Or does that actually kind of feel like, what, we're kind of moving in the right direction? Like that feels accurate to me.
It certainly feels accurate. I don't know if that's the right direction or the wrong direction.
Is that an endorsement? Yeah.
As a writer, I'm a little biased toward text.
Sure.
But I do think we are drifting in that direction of prioritizing audio and video and desiring to like hear the voice and see the face of the person who we're listening to. And I think YouTube has done a lot to drive that, but it's not alone. Like podcasts and audiobooks are the same thing.
Yeah.
TikTok distributing clips through its algorithmic feed also like pushed toward that. But I think what's interesting now is that like it's kind of come back around where YouTube started this archetype and then lots of other platforms emerged to serve it. And now like YouTube is becoming the hub for all of it once more.
Right.
Like as you were discussing, it's more popular than TV on TV in a way. Like YouTube is just the hub for that orality maybe.
Everything that you just said sounds concerning to me. I've got like maybe 1 minute left here. 20 years ago, YouTube began as a place of home videos. The slogan was broadcast yourself. How did that turn out, that idea of broadcasting yourself, Kyle?
Well, social media encouraged us to broadcast ourselves and then kind of turned back around and punished us for it in many ways. I mean, I think we've seen the dangers of self-exposure online over the past, 5 to 8 years in a way that we didn't necessarily expect at first. And now that idea of broadcasting yourself, I think it's become professionalized, basically. Like now it's a job and a career path like any other. And maybe we don't believe so much that everyone should do that. Like if you aspire to be a influencer or creator, like a filmmaker, podcaster, sure, like go ahead and broadcast yourself. But I think the rest of everyone online has gotten more used to the idea of being a consumer of content. And social media overall is less user generated than it once was, and more about consuming a broadcast from the kind of talents who you want to hear from.
Gotta tell you, Kyle, when we launched this show 2 years ago, in my brain, I was like, I cannot wait to launch a radio show. This sounds like such an exciting project. The team was very excited about it. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I was like, I wonder how long it'll take before we're also a YouTube show. Well, guess what, buddy? We are, and you are on it. I appreciate you and appreciate your time. Thanks again for being here.
Yeah, it's fun. It's very meta.
You know what? It's nice to get meta every once in a while. So thanks again.
Of course.
Yes, Kyle Chayka is a staff writer for The New Yorker. His book is called Filter World. It's about how algorithms have flattened culture.